Hey guys, Tactical Diesel Dad. On November 8th, Judge Matthew Kecsmaryk ruled that the ATF pistol brace rule was an attempt by unelected bureaucrats to legislate by regulation in violation of the APA or the Administrative Policy Act, and also ruled that the ATF's rule, not a law, a rule, was placed in the National Registry for comments, and it did not match the final rule that the ATF came up with. Who'd have thought? The government overstepping its bounds and doing a bait and switch, essentially, which failed to pass the common use grounds. The ATF's rule failed to pass that. Essentially saying if something is so widely used, it's common use, and you've got millions of pistol brace owners, and it does pass the common use test. So this is a huge win for those of us who saw this is an AR Springfield Armory Saint with a pistol brace. And the ATF then comes around after saying it was okay to have them. Millions of people go out and buy them, and then the ATF comes around and says, wait a second, we're going to make them illegal. Not by law, but by rule. And people need to wake up. This nation is not teaching its students that we are a constitutional republic. We are not a democracy. A democracy is simply majority rules. That is not how it goes. A constitutional republic protects the right of the individual. So I can't then get all of my friends to say, hey, we're going to vote your rights away. No, because you have fundamental rights that cannot be taken away. The ATF, and speaking as former law enforcement, we are a nation of law. We need law enforcement, but it has to follow the criteria that the Constitution lays down. And when you have a government agency, aka the ATF, that comes in and tries to rule by without going through the proper legislative process, that is a violation of our rights. And as many of you guys, same as me, the ATF says, hey, now you got to go register these. And if you did register them, the bad news is now it's a short barrel firearm. So because you followed the ATF's recommendation, they gave you a grace period of, I think it was 90 days back in January. If you did in fact go ahead and pay that $200 tax stamp, you effectively turned your weapon into a SBR, and now you can't take it across state lines until you meet those requirements of the short barrel firearm regulation, suppressors, and everything that falls under those regulations. But if you did not register your pistol brace or your AR pistol with a pistol brace on it as an SBR, you're good to go. And thankfully, I'm good to go. This is a massive overreach of power by the ATF, and it's not surprising. The ATF, even most law enforcement officials, really, unless there's something that's egregious, people aren't walking around with belt-fed weapons robbing banks. The bank robberies that do happen with full auto weapons, those are modified to make them full auto, which we all know. If anybody has any tactical understanding whatsoever, full auto actually makes you less accurate. And in my personal opinion, whatever the government has, we should be able to have as well. And that's speaking as law enforcement. I bleed blue. I believe we are a nation of law, this nation is founded on legislation and following the law, but those laws have to meet the constitutional requirements. And unfortunately, the ATF simply, I think most of them just don't even know the Constitution at this point. It's very frustrating to see this happen and essentially turn millions of gun owners into felons overnight. Shame on the ATF for that. That is ridiculous. And I'm so thankful that this judge here in Texas made the ruling that he did. I've got other videos to make about the the judicial branch. Attorneys and judges have turned this nation. What are judges? They're attorneys, right? The ones that don't follow the Constitution have turned this nation into a bureaucracy where you can't even navigate the legislative process or the judicial process as a common citizen without losing everything you have to an attorney, because they've made it so expensive. Because who writes the laws? Attorneys do. Who writes the processes that you have to file or follow? Attorneys do. And ultimately, judges aren't holding attorneys or themselves accountable. They say they'll hold themselves accountable. Yeah, right. They're human. That's why we have the Constitution, because humans are flawed, and they have to follow the law. And unfortunately, you have judges across this nation not following the law, and it's refreshing to see one that is. So that is great news. It is going to go back for appeal next year, from my understanding, but it's going to go back to the Fifth Circuit, and they by all intents and purposes, they should just kick it back down, because they already heard it and ruled against it. So thanks for watching, guys. This is great news for everybody that believes in the Constitution. These are great weapons. I bought it for a truck gun, something that's small, backpacking, whatever, camping, to be able to protect yourself, which is a human, God-given right of self-defense. So thankfully, ATF not getting these today. Thanks for watching, guys. Like and subscribe if you like the content, and stay safe.